Ladies and gentlemen, this is my official The Walking Dead universe tier list. We're going to be ranking all 7 of the shows in this video, so let's jump right in. We have The Walking Dead, we have The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, The Walking Dead Dead City, The Walking Dead The World Beyond, Tales of the Walking Dead, The Walking Dead The Ones Who Live, and Fear the Walking Dead. How many times, ladies and gentlemen, can I say the phrase The Walking Dead in one breath? Oh my lord, that is crazy to me that we already have 7 primary shows. So the point of this video, and I think I just lost focus, sorry about that. The point of this video is to discuss which spin-offs are ranked appropriately. So we have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, and then of course, liquid ass. And I'm not sure why I'm out of focus. Let me fix that. There we go. There, should be better. Regardless, that's the tier. We're going to jump right in, and I'm not going to start with The Walking Dead because I feel like that serves a later discussion. So we'll start with Daryl Dixon. I feel like that's a great starting point. And I have to admit, this show genuinely, wholeheartedly impressed me way more than I thought it would. Specifically because I was never intrigued by Daryl. He's a good character in The Walking Dead's history, sure, yes, but the idea of a spin-off for him just doesn't seem right. It didn't seem right at all. Also, in general, as much as I love Norman Reedus, I just can never see him as a lead of a spin-off. It didn't make really any sense to me. So I had no excitement going into this one. The trailers looked stupid, in my opinion, and all of that. But I have to say, it's a solid A tier. I think this is an amazing show. The first season was a lot of fun in a way that I was not expecting at all. And the side characters in this were extremely strong, whether it was Laurent or Isabel, or even a little bit of the Madame Genet, whatever her name is, like the villain. I thought that was fine. It got a little cheesy with the whole Walker thing at the very end with the variant Walker fighting Daryl. Like, that was goofy to me. But that's really, honest to God, my only complaint with the show. Otherwise, I absolutely loved the story. The visuals were amazing. Like, absolutely amazing. Isabel was one of my favorite characters in The Walking Dead, at least since, like, season 9, realistically. I actually genuinely really liked Isabel. Laurent was great. He was one of the first kid actors that I never felt cringe with, and I'm on record saying that in all of my reviews for Daryl Dixon. I genuinely, wholeheartedly liked Laurent. No issues there at all. So if you think about it from that perspective, the story was fun. The visuals were incredible. The acting was way better than I anticipated for Norman Reedus and crew as a whole. The story, I think I already said this, the story was fun. The point I'm making is it just worked in a way that I couldn't believe. And episode 2 of this show, which focused on Isabel's backstory and the fall of France at the time, was one of my favorite episodes in the Walking Dead universe in a very long time. I genuinely really enjoyed it. And it just goes to show, you can't judge a book by its cover. Sometimes things that don't seem at face value like they're going to work, do. Never thought this would. It truly blew me away. It was, I don't know if I could say it was my favorite spin-off of The Walking Dead, but it was up there. It definitely was. And obviously we've gotten a lot of spin-offs and all of that stuff. But yeah, Daryl Dixon, genuinely, wholeheartedly enjoyed. But let's move on to the other spin-off that this was the first of these new spin-offs that we got. This was the very first one, Walking Dead Dead City. And it was kind of a random one. We got an announcement of this in season 11, and it was called like The Walking Dead, I forget what it was called. It was called something else before this, and then they switched it to Dead City. But I was personally excited because Maggie and Negan are that dynamic, especially in The Walking Dead after Rick Grimes departed from the show, was one of my favorite dynamics, period. I genuinely really enjoyed it. So my excitement was at an all-time high with this series because I loved them. It's also in New York, which is where I'm at. So like there's that natural instinct to want to see what happens here. And I actually think they really delivered. I'd actually argue that it's in the same category as Daryl Dixon, but it's definitely not as good as Daryl Dixon. I don't know if I could put it in good tier because I actually wholeheartedly enjoyed this in a very similar way to Daryl Dixon. Daryl Dixon I gave a lot more praise to because of how shocked I was at how good it was. But I'd argue that these are on a fairly similar level. And before in the comments you guys fillet me for that, you have to understand this is a preferential thing. I love Negan. He's my favorite character in the Walking Dead universe. Literally. Like, he is my favorite character, both in the comics and in the show, even though they are drastically different people. I absolutely loved it. And I know there's been a lot of arguments online, whether it was in my comment sections or other comments or other Reddit posts or videos, that people are getting really sick and tired of the Maggie and Negan dynamic. And look, I understand that critique. I see it. But I think this is setting up a larger story as well with the Croat and what happens there with Maggie's group as well as Negan's group and things like that. I like what they're doing with this. I don't think it's overplayed to the point where I'm sick of it yet. You know what I mean? And I like their dynamic. I do understand, though, wholeheartedly that the idea of them being close and working together just makes no sense, and that's why the comic version of Negan works more. I totally get that argument, but we're not watching the comics, and as much as you know me, I love referencing the source material and all that stuff, but I really also liked what they did with Negan in the show. It's drastically different from the comics, and I like both of them for that. I'm actually working on a whole video about this topic in general, so definitely stay tuned for that, but Maggie and Negan, I think, worked really well together. The setting worked really well. The Croat was a fun, goofy villain. I don't know where they're going for this season 2. I found it, honestly, a little interesting that we had this, like, female villain that we don't know much about. Like, that was kind of weird to me. Actually, it's kind of weird to say, but it kind of felt like Outer Banks level villains for me. It was, like, a goofy villain, but that was probably one of my bigger complaints of it, if that makes any sense. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but outside of that, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fight we got with Maggie and Negan. I enjoyed the storytelling. And it really rejuvenated the idea that you could do a Walking Dead spin-off post Fear the Walking Dead and it actually be good. So I have to give credit where credit's due. The Walking Dead Dead City was actually very, very good. Not as good as Daryl Dixon, but I would argue they're on the same level. Now, up next is The World Beyond. This is really easy for me to put in liquid ass. I'm not even going to waste time doing that. Nothing about this story was enjoyable to me. It was very boring. The only thing I will say about The Walking Dead, The World Beyond, is now with the context of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, with that being over, I think this adds some weight, and I could probably make an argument that it should go in C tier, but just based off my actual enjoyment of the show through and through, because that's what I'm trying to base these off of, The World Beyond has to go in liquid ass. It was liquid ass. It's like, it really genuinely was. The first season with the kids' storyline fucking sucked. Like, I'm sorry, it just fucking sucked. There was nothing about that I had any interest in exploring. Completely boring, not fun stuff to watch. Season 2, yes, it did improve, but it still featured all the characters outside of Silas, who I just couldn't stand and didn't want to see on screen. I didn't like any of them. And yes, I understand that we got Jadis in the show, and it brought forth a really good story with the other female that Jadis ended up killing. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But yes, it brought forth a cool story, and we got some, like, hints of what's to come in The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, and that was cool. I also liked that we saw some experiments, and I liked Kubelik. I liked that stuff, and Silas, and yada yada. Like, that was fine, but it was insufferable to me because I hated every other element to the show. The kid's storyline was so fucking cringe. It genuinely was. This show just, on every level, I don't like, even down to the promo material for the show. Like, look at this. This thing sucks. Fuck this show. Like, genuinely, no interest. And again, the last thing I'll say to wrap this up, sorry, I just hit my microphone if you heard it, but the last thing to wrap this up is at least it now gives additional context and makes the CRM feel kind of more complete as a storyline with The World Beyond. So, like, I'm glad that they did that because now, obviously, having seen The Ones Who Live, we know that storyline's, I guess, like, over in the villain sense that we had, which is bullshit to me. But that being said, The World Beyond sucked. all in all, it sucked, even with the CRM's context, whatever. Now, up next, we have The Walking Dead, and I would be a fucking buffoon if I didn't put this in S tier. Not because of peer pressure or anything like that, but it's the reason I make videos. Number one, it is the reason all of these exist, and whole fucking heartedly, it's brilliant. Even after it got bad, it's still brilliant. I absolutely love this show from start to finish. Yes, again, like I mentioned, it had some weak moments, like season 7 and 8, kind of weak. Later seasons, like season 10, in my opinion, that was the weakest season of them all. Season 11 had a lot of wasted potential in there, yada, yada. Like, you get the whole thing. But through and through, this show still always had that same heart that I loved about it. Yes, without Rick, it changed, sure. But it holds the biggest value in my heart, and there is nothing at all like the first, I would say, 7 seasons of this show. Realistically, there was nothing like it. Everything that we got, actually no, I would even go out to season 8 because of everyone was still there. Like, we still, even though we didn't have Glenn, we still had Rick and we still had Carl, and that whole dynamic with the extended family of everyone else that were survivors, it just still worked up until Carl died. Realistically speaking, that's when the show changed for me. I have videos on the channel about that. I'm not going to waste a breath here talking about it because I have to give praise where praise is due. The Walking Dead was just such a good show. It's such a good show. It's the reason you're watching this video. It's the reason I'm making this video. I love the show. I genuinely do. I love the story of Rick Grimes. I love the story of Found Family. And a lot of people, I have to make this point, a lot of people ask me why, like in my real life, because I actually don't tell people I do this YouTube channel, but a lot of people ask me just in personal when they ask me what my favorite show is. I always say The Walking Dead, and they're all like, dude, that show sucks now, like blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like I hear you. To the modern person, the show fell off and all of that stuff, but it means so much. And for the people who've never seen it, like for instance, my girlfriend's actually never seen the show. She's like, ew, it's about zombies. Like, I don't want to see a show about zombies. She's not a gore fan, or like people I know in general, not just her, not gore fans or not zombies fans. But I'm like, yes, there's zombies in the show, but The Walking Dead is a human story. Like that's why the show is so good. It's not because I have some fetish for watching, people get killed or eaten by zombies. I'm not really a big gore fan in general. Like I know some of you guys might be, and that may be like crazy to hear because like this is what I talk about and stuff like that. But it has nothing to do with that, which is why I like the show. It's a human story, and it's one of the best human stories I've ever experienced. I fucking love The Walking Dead. I genuinely do. It may not be my favorite show of all time, but it has definitely the most sentimental value to me than any show ever. Even like Better Call Saul, which I would argue is my favorite show. Believe it or not, The Bear's getting up there, and I haven't made a video about that on this channel yet, but regardless, The Walking Dead, there is nothing in my heart like this show. It's fucking brilliant. It's a great show. Even with its poor decisions along the way, I could tolerate those, and that's fine. But you know what doesn't have a special place in my heart? Tales of the Walking Dead. Tales of the Walking Dead, I'm hovering between C, which you guys might kill me for if I put it in C, or the obvious one, which is Liquid Ass. I'm going to be a little contentious, though, here and let you guys fillet me apart. I'm putting this in the C tier, and I'm not doing this for the views or for the comments or whatever. I'm genuinely not. I'm doing it because, honestly, I did enjoy some of these one-off stories, and yes, they really did suck, and the premise of why this show was made is just fucking stupid. Like, if they were going to do a Tales of the Walking Dead, it should not be these 6 episodes. And yes, there were some really big gaffes, like Blair and Gina, and some of the other ones in there, sure. But, they were still enjoyable. They were very different. Like, I actually did like the Terry Crews episode. I liked the Alpha episode. I liked the episodes of this show for the most part in a nutshell, ignoring the fact that this is in, like, the Walking Dead universe. It really, where I could easily put this in Liquid Ass is the general concept of this show being a complete flop. That's where I would argue this is Liquid Ass. But because my enjoyment was higher for Tales of the Walking Dead, because there were some interesting stories in one-off things, and I like ideas of stories telling different perspectives within this apocalypse with different characters, I think it was really cool. Where I have the biggest problem with it, other than what I already mentioned, is they could have done Tales of the Walking Dead with characters we know, or even like what if scenarios and things like that. Like that's what, when you hear the name Tales of the Walking Dead, you don't think Blair and Gina. You don't. And I have no idea how a writer's room, a production studio, AMC, all of that didn't understand that. That's where this becomes liquid ass. Not because the episodes themselves were unenjoyable, because I genuinely don't think they were like terrible. They were, honestly, to me, they were better than World Beyond. Like, they were fun, interesting stories that only could be told in a form like Tales of the Walking Dead, because you could never put a Blair and Gina in the Walking Dead canon, or even like Daryl Dixon or Dead City. You know what I mean? You could never do that. That would be cardinal sin number one. That'd be cardinal sin number one. But look, I know this is definitely a contentious one. I could see your fingers getting hot for this one. That being said, I genuinely don't think I think the potential is really strong there, and my enjoyment was I actually did enjoy these episodes. Like, all things considered, they were enjoyable one-off stories that I never want to watch again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel that way about World Beyond, and for that reason, I don't think it can sit in the same tier. That's actually going to make my ranking for Fear the Walking Dead hard, because, like, I feel like I'm probably going to put it in the same spot. Maybe that's a spoiler or whatever, but regardless, I'm basing this off of my genuine enjoyment. Yes, there was a lot of blunders. Yes, it shouldn't have existed in the fashion that it did. All of that is absolutely true, but I did enjoy it. Like, I did enjoy it. It was a fun 6 episodes. Yeah, some of them were a little boring, but it was still fun. So yeah, I have to put it there. I just have to. Now, we have The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. And this is a really tough one for me to rank, because as you guys know, episodes 5 and 6, I was not a big fan of, but overall, every element of the plot point, and I feel like I sound like a broken record if you've been watching my recent videos on this, every episode, every plot point was still wholeheartedly enjoyable and done very well, and even though I didn't like the writing in certain elements, I'm going to give this an S tier. I really am. The spectacle, the enjoyment I had, the excitement I had was on the same level as some of the seasons of The Walking Dead. I loved this. This felt like the natural conclusion to the Rick Grimes story, and to the point where, yes, it would be great to see more like a reunion with Daryl and like the dynamics between Maggie and Negan. Like, those are things I really want to see. I feel like we don't necessarily need it. I feel like what they will do is probably do a reunion with Daryl, I'm sure, but this ended in such a way where I wholeheartedly am very satisfied with the conclusion to his journey in the AMC show. Is it what I want for Rick's character? No, because honestly, I think The Walking Dead's comics tells the perfect Rick Grimes story, and this is not the same Rick Grimes story at all. I love Rick Grimes in the comics way more than I love Rick Grimes in the show, but I love Andy Lincoln and his portrayal of Rick Grimes in a whole different way. It's almost like they're different characters that I love on equal levels, just for very different reasons, if that makes any sense. I love them both just in very different ways, but I prefer the comics because I love the Rick Grimes story in the comics, but I love the Andrew Lincoln Rick Grimes in the show, if that made any sense. Whatever. Regardless, The Walking Dead's The Ones Who Live, even though I had problems with episode 5 and 6, I'd argue this was a dynamite show. It just struck lightning in a bottle. It needed the time to develop, and I think it did so perfectly, even though the writing episode by episode struggled a bit. The story and the direction that the entire show got to me, makes up for that. Like, I could suspend a little bit of disbelief, and I know we've talked about this in other shows and all that stuff. I could suspend a little bit of disbelief for something that I think on paper just works so well. And I think a lot of it did, even though the writing sucked, and it did become unbelievable at times, especially in episode 6. I'm willing to put that aside, suspend a little bit of disbelief, because we got what was a well-rounded, complete story. Even if that means I have big problems with them killing off the CRM as a threat. Like, that's a big deal to me. I don't like that they did that, and you guys know how angry I got about that. But that being said, I still think the show was electric. I really do. It was just electric, and that's the only way I could put it. My enjoyment was at the same level of The Walking Dead. I fucking loved it. I really did. But then I saved the best for last. I had to do it. You guys know I had to do it. Fear the Walking Dead. And if you guys have stuck around long enough for my rants, you know liquid ass would serve the best purpose for Fear the Walking Dead, but I can't in good conscience give it that. I can't, because like the video I made where I talk about if you don't like it, stop watching. Even though I thought this show fucking sucked, I at least enjoyed it, and I have to give credit to the fact that there were some elements to this show that I loved, to the point where it's in the same category as The Walking Dead. Not all of it, God forbid, not all of it. I'm talking about season 3 and some of the other seasons and some one-off episodes. And because those episodes are so high, I can't in good conscience put it in liquid ass. I can't in good conscience put it in Tales of the Walking Dead C tier. I'm going to put it in B tier. I would argue that seasons 4 through 8 were liquid ass, like no doubt about it, not even a thought in my mind. But there were still in seasons 4, season 6, even 7 and 8, there was at least 1 or 2 episodes that I wholeheartedly enjoyed that kept the Fear the Walking Dead heart alive. So I can't in good conscience give it liquid ass. I could almost put it here. Like I really could. I could almost put it here. But because I had such a strong affection for the earlier seasons of the show and the Clark storyline, I have to take that into account. I think it's a fine B tier. It almost kills me to say. It really does. It almost kills me to put it in there, because in my heart, I fucking hated everything past season 4. Hated it. But I also watched it and enjoyed watching it. And because of that, if I enjoyed doing that, I can't put it in the same category of other shows where I had real problems with, like, for boring elements and stupid things that just, like, why would you put this in The Walking Dead? Like, at least with this, seasons 1 through 3, I could be like, okay, it makes sense why you put this in The Walking Dead. Even season 4 up until the horrible villain of the B plot, or I mean of the back half of the season. Things like that, like, there's story elements here that really fucking sucked, but even through the worst of it, the heart of the show still stayed intact. So like Madison Clark, even though she was gone for a couple seasons, but Alicia, Strand, even though he was entirely wishy-washy in season 7, and things like that, it still had that glue that felt like The Walking Dead. Even when it became the Morgan and Friends show, it still felt or had a similar Fear the Walking Dead feel. And I think it's because it was so cheesy. Honestly, that's what I think it was. But because it was cheesy, and I think this is one of those shows where they kind of knew it was like that, so they kind of embraced that in a different way with things like the beer bottle balloon and things like that. But like, even as much as I hate it and loved to rip on it, I think that's what made me enjoy it so much. Like, I look back on Fear the Walking Dead with more fondness than I ever thought I would. Not that I love it and I'm like, oh, that was a good show, because I don't think it was. Like, I genuinely don't. But, like, it's a unique one. Like, stupid things happen and it made me laugh. Like, you don't get that with some of the other spinoffs in the Walking Dead universe. You just don't. This one did it for me in that way, and it was kind of like that corny, cheesy, like terrible movie, something like The Room, that is so bad, but it's so bad it's good. That's how I felt about Fear the Walking Dead overall. And yes, I got very angry over it, and all those emotions are absolutely true and things like that. But I have to admit where my enjoyment lies. It was definitely more enjoyable to me than Tales of the Walking Dead, and it was definitely more enjoyable than The World Beyond for me. But yeah, that's the list. Obviously, we have The Walking Dead and The Ones Who Live in S tier. In A tier, we have Daryl Dixon and Dead City. In B tier, we have Fear the Walking Dead. C tier, we have Tales of the Walking Dead. And in liquid ass, we have The Walking Dead, The World Beyond. I want to know your guys' tier list. I want to hear that down in the comments. Please be sure to give this video a like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't. And coming soon, I will have my final review for The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. So stay tuned for that. I wanted to get these tier lists out because they've been fresh on my mind, and I'm saving The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live's review until I finish binging the show once more, because I want to get a more well-rounded sense of it. But that's the list, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.